These people are like super loyal, down to earth, just want to help. Like, I have nothing negative to say about VAs. Obviously there's people that'll just work for everybody at the same time, share leads, like that's part of the game too. But majority of the guys that and girls that we've hired have been just stellar, you know, and I recommend everybody to go to the Philippines for VAs.
E-commerce is the greatest business opportunity of our generation.
What's going on, people? It's your boy Kaj here on another episode of the Ecom Unlimited podcast, here with my co-host Josh.
What's up, everybody?
And we have some repeat guests on the podcast with us today. You might even be able to say this is their third time on the podcast, based on the fact that the second recording we had so many technical difficulties. We're running it back again.
Great.
What's up, boys? How you doing?
Good, man. Yeah, I appreciate sincerely being a repeat client, if you want to call us that. It's an honor to be here.
Glad to have you. Yeah, so for people who may not have listened to the first time you were on the pod, I believe that was episode 6. Just give us a quick intro, what you guys are doing, how long you've been in the business.
My name is Pete. That's my brother, Jared. We've been in the business about 2 years now. We originally started with OA. We did that for about a year and then pivoted to wholesale about, I think, May of 2023. So now we're in May of 24. About a year now we're doing wholesale.
Okay, awesome. And just selling on Amazon,
Yeah,
right?
for the most part, yeah.
Any plans to get onto
We
Walmart or any other channels?
Long and hard. Eventually, hopefully, yes. I would like to.
Yeah, that's the goal. When Walmart first launched, we made an account, and our first product we listed didn't even get a sale yet and got banned. And
welcome to Walmart.
I was like, okay, let me come back on this, and we just have yet to really dive back into it. Especially that I hear that there's not too many good tools yet. Which is a pro and a con, because I'm sure it's the Wild West and people who are crushing it are actually really crushing it. And once the tools get developed, margins will shrink. So it's a double-edged sword there, but we'll get onto it eventually.
Definitely got to hop on that train, man. Like the way we're using Walmart right now, and we're not even really fully using it like this, but just whatever we're selling on Amazon that can also sell well on Amazon, on Walmart. Just
they're very cohesive.
We're not even really doing extra
good
sourcing
for you guys. Obviously, if you're selling the same products, it's easy to start one and see if it sells on the other, which obviously is a winner. And hopefully, we get on that path soon.
Yeah.
Are you guys doing
100%.
TikTok shop?
That's funny you said that.
It's been a struggle. It's funny you said that. Yeah, it has been a struggle trying to figure out the back end and get everything sorted.
Yes.
But it's now ready.
It's
ready to go. So I'm hoping for first sales this week.
Congrats,
Making moves.
boys.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to seeing the win.
It's awesome.
The back end is set up, locked in 2 influencers to shoot some videos for one of our brand direct products, and they just got the product, so I'm hoping to have videos from them to post at some point this week or early next week, and then
Awesome.
Yeah, good stuff.
Get the
That's
ball
it.
rolling,
That's all
man.
you could do, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Well, let's go rewind a little bit just into the part of the conversation that got cut off with the technical difficulties from the first recording. Yes. So you guys are both originally from New York. Where are you located right now?
So we're both from New York, and then about a year and a half ago, we moved from Staten Island to New Jersey, stayed in New Jersey for about 6 months, and then we all moved to Florida. Now, Peter is still in Florida. I came back to New Jersey with my mother due to some health issues in my family, which is a different story. But hopefully within the next 3 to 6 months, I'm back in Florida, working beside him, and we get the ball rolling again.
Taking over the world.
That's it. That's it.
I like it.
And you said you got some other things in the works,
yeah, buddy.
right? Like
Got
in
a
the
lot.
warehouse.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. So what is your prep? What is your and actually go back to the beginning, right? So like for someone new listening, what does your operation look like as you've scaled over the last couple of years, and why have you decided to
We,
get a
we didn't
warehouse?
decide we needed a warehouse. First of all, anyone
yeah,
who's anyone who's been in this
let me
industry,
explain this after
take
you
it
done.
away. Go ahead.
I have never seen what OA really looked like at a scalable capacity. So when I first started this, we were buying little things off of Walmart. We were buying things from Target. 2 years ago, the OA game was very different. And there was a lot of sites where you can just buy tons of product. There was no order limits. The order cancellations were still a thing, but it wasn't as restrictive as it is now. And within the first 3 months, like, our scalability was crazy, which made me really look at the opportunity of Amazon totally different. Within our first 3 months, we did over 100K in sales. And then I think month 4 was 100K in the month. So it was a crazy growth. But in the beginning, like, everybody I'm around doesn't do this. I don't even really know anybody in real life other than our internet friends that do this in real life. So when I'm getting packages to the house, and our front door is loaded with Target packages and loaded with it was like, yo, what is going on? What are these kids doing? And it just got to a point in New York where we were really packed out. Like, there was a point where I looked around my living room with Jared and we were like, holy shit, this is like $50,000 worth of socks.
And you couldn't
like,
see the floor. No one
Yo,
can walk.
straight up.
Yes.
I was like, what is
Yes.
going on?
That is peak online arbitrage.
Yeah, bro.
Yes.
It's crazy.
$50,000 of socks
Spread
in the
out.
living room, can't see
Figuring
the
them up
floor.
one by
That's
one.
when you know.
Yeah, it's just nuts. And then
Those Nike
Oh,
six-pack
man.
crew socks.
they
I
fly.
have nightmares of those
Fly.
things.
Yeah, I probably still have returns somewhere in here. Oh,
I
here.
was gonna say I'm probably
these aren't,
wearing
these
a
aren't the
return.
6-packs, but well, they are 6-packs, just not the cruise.
I'm wearing the white versions
That's
of
it.
those right now from
For
which
memory
return that we got.
Yeah, it's
Put it
real
to
life.
good
It's
use.
real life.
Exactly.
But yeah, so we got to that point, and then, being that we were in New York, the apparel category was most efficient for us, because in New York and New Jersey, I believe is the same, under $100 for apparel stuff is sales tax free. So all of the cheaper stuff, not high ASP stuff, is sales tax free. We didn't really need a prep center. And then we ended up getting one in Montana, and that guy was charging us like $1 a unit, which was kind of absurd now looking back on it, but it's the OA model. It's not wholesale. And then our good friend that we do a lot of business with ended up getting a warehouse, I believe last July. So about a year into our selling. And we started just sending him stuff periodically. We had a warehouse up north in New York for like 6 months, 7
about
months,
6.
Joe. Ended up having a falling out with the people that we were doing business with, and that kind of really messed our business up this first quarter and a half of this year, which I would love to get into if you guys want to explore that. But now we're kind of like back in decent shape, continuing to scale, and it's time that, he's up north still. I'm in Florida now. I have an apartment. I don't have a house, so I'm not going to send thousands of units and pallets here. So it just made sense, and we're committing to it.
I like it.
I mean, from a
Love that.
mathematical standpoint, anybody out there, it makes sense dollar-wise for us to get the
Right.
warehouse. We're not just shooting in the dark and, balls to the walls. Like, we are doing an ample amount of units that if I was to pay a prep center for it, it's kind of right on the line of let's just get our own.
Having our own spot, putting our own employees in
Yeah,
check.
especially if we're going to keep growing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's the speed
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
game
I remember-
too.
Yeah,
that
hell
allows-
yeah.
That is
hell
one
yeah.
thing
yeah.
I'm learning more and more over time with this
Mhm.
business. The longer you wait,
Speed.
the longer your sales wait, the longer it takes for you to make money. Listings could go down. Just speed is the number
Yeah,
one thing in this business.
I feel like
Gotta
that's
keep
that's
your
an
cash flow cycles
overarching thing.
quick as possible.
Sorry, Kaj,
Yeah.
but I think for life, like an overarching thing of life is urgency, and a lot of
Yeah.
people just lack this thing. They don't know how to pull that out of them and push when it's not so easy to, but the people who are fast and on it are just going to keep crushing the competition,
Speaking between me and Peter, honestly, that is another thing that I'm very grateful for, and I'm sure he is working together, is that in particular. Like, when we're down and out, we both have each other to call each other and be like, yo, you got, which is good. To
Yeah.
be in good communication and ready and keeping the ball rolling.
Bro,
Good.
I'd be
That's key.
off the deep end without this
You
kid.
need some mental focus sometimes. You need someone to help you get off the
Yeah,
ledge.
hell yeah. I mean, you guys
Dude,
know, you guys
absolutely.
experience this stuff. It's not,
Yeah.
everybody makes it out to be like it's so easy. Let's just start a business and we could sell on Amazon and do it because they see somebody else they know do it. And it's like, bro, you have zero clue
Yeah.
what goes into this. Zero. And it's everybody
Yep.
doesn't want to pay that ignorance tax down, you know?
Josh and I are the same way. If either of us were doing it just solo,
Yeah,
we would not
it's-
still be doing it.
Hell
It's
no.
Zero
crazy.
chance.
It's a lot, bro. It's a lot to mentally manage, you
And
know?
between your VAs, obviously,
Yep.
if you have employees prepping things, looking for new products, data, there's so much stuff to be taken care of. that-
Account health, ungating. Like, yo, that's something that we can
Yeah,
talk about real
absolutely.
quick. Which I know you experienced too, because we talked about this in Miami. We had a deal that we put a deposit down on, humongous PO, in January. It didn't get fulfilled until a couple of weeks
Side
ago.
note, we were told
So-
it was 3 weeks was the lead time.
yeah,
which obviously
you guys,
Yeah, we got that.
it happens.
Somehow we also
Which
got
is-
told 3
yeah,
weeks.
it
that
happens.
could really mess up the business, though, as you feel it.
Look out. If your supplier tells you lead time is 3 weeks,
Run.
Run.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Run.
Anyway, though, so we had 4 months to get the ungate. Think about this. By the time we got the invoice from this guy, the brand reached out to Amazon and requested that they don't ungate new sellers.
Good Lord.
This could have really almost be a super nightmare. Our friend,
And-
thankfully,
And that's why the distributor never got you the product.
yeah. Well, apparently he has to ship it out of the country, ship it back
But
in.
what he's about
Last
to
time
say
we're doing business with a guy like
emphasizes
that.
how big lead times are and how important it is to have relationships inside this business. Because
Yeah.
what he's going to say
definitely.
really helped us major.
Yeah. So the point of having friends in the game is in an instance like this where he was ungated. He is now selling our product on his account for us. Otherwise, you know, we were just going to hold the bag on all
You would have
that.
been stuck.
What do you do? I don't know. You tell me. What do I do?
Oh, because you
Right.
weren't ungated
It wouldn't ungate us.
before Amazon restricted the product.
Yeah.
But your friend had already been ungated
Yes.
in the brand.
And it's
Yep,
just
that's
like,
key.
you know, we still could apply to sell. It was totally fine. I used the invoice, no big deal. His invoices work. He's not like a sketchy type of distributor. It just was a bad deal. And for that specific brand, you know, Amazon restricted new sellers on it. And you got to be vigilant. You got to be resilient. You got to figure out the next move because, you know, this stuff could turn overnight.
That's the risk in this. You think the data looks good, the products look good, all of that is not good until it's not good. And we learned that the hard
Yeah.
way. So
Yep.
So
Yeah, we are also
Yeah,
learned
it's
that
the
the
only
hard way, and we're still learning it. It's actually
It's-
to this day how
bro, we're
hard it
probably-
can
I
be.
was
never
just
gonna
gonna say
stop
there's
learning
almost
it.
a
It's
point
just-
where it's almost unavoidable. How do you not? You know,
Yeah.
it's going to happen here and there throughout
Yeah.
the business. It is what it is. It's just how you
100%.
bounce back from it and what you
Yep.
do to negate it, which I think we've done a decent job on this particular situation. But hopefully, it stays that smooth moving forward.
the scary reality is there, like, I'm somebody that's very proactive. I hate being reactive, but a lot of things that I see in the Amazon space for anybody that's just starting, a lot of it you can't plan for. And there's a
Yes.
lot of moving pieces in this game that, you know, you could account for 10, all of them check those boxes, it looks good to go, and then there's that 11th thing that just comes out of thin air that you did not see or you physically can't account for it. And that's a reality.
Yes. Yep.
100%.
So the question then is, how do you, or thinking about how you mitigate your risk and spread out your
Right.
risk.
Yeah, so
Because inevitably something
Of
is
course.
going to go wrong. Everything can't always go
Can't.
right,
It
or else
it
it would
almost
be easy
shouldn't.
and then everyone
It
would be
just,
doing
of
it.
course.
And exactly,
Yeah, yeah.
exactly. It's the name of the game. But it's how do you, like I said, spread out your risk and mitigate your risk to help so that when something does happen, it doesn't take you out.
do you want us to answer that?
Yeah, give us some
Sure,
examples.
sure.
Because I have some theories. Some of them are a bit black hat that I usually wouldn't share publicly. Definitely spread your spend out so you're not too into one brand. You're not too deep into one ASIN. You don't want to go too deep into any of these. But also, you peel back a layer, you don't want to be too deep on one account. Now that means new LLC, that means use IP addresses and VPNs and all of that to make sure all of your stuff is separated. But in case one goes down, I got employees to feed, I got rent due, I got all of these things that continue to come, loan bills, everything is going to continue, whether Amazon wants us to play in their sandbox or not. So getting a second account is very important, and Jared and I are actively playing with that.
Where and building a system for that.
Yeah.
Because
So
that's a back pocket.
yeah, just worst case
Yep.
scenario. And then to peel back the layers even further, diversifying risk into other platforms like Walmart, like TikTok Shop, things like that are always good. Now, if you're in the beginning stages, I'd even consider us still in the beginning stages. I don't want to diversify my brain too much to where I'm trying to get things rolling in so many different areas. But the Amazon side of things is definitely rolling to a point where it's starting to be, let's pay attention to other channels, let's pay attention to other things, and we can, diversify our risk more. But in the beginning, like, it's balls to the walls,
There
buddy.
is no free time.
Run that shit up.
That's
Excuse my language again, Kaj.
Sorry for cussing.
the passion in the voice.
Yeah, it's the passion.
Yeah. And like the having multiple accounts thing, it's not even a black hat thing. It's more like gray hat, because
Yeah.
Amazon is very the rules around it are kind of iffy. It's not super clear cut. It's like if you have a legitimate business reason for it, because there are many people who have multiple accounts. I know private label guys, they have a different account for each private label, right?
Which is
And
smart.
Amazon totally accepts it,
which
right?
is smart.
Yeah, and we're also trying to consider how we can do that too. Maybe like, because we're getting more into the brand direct side of things,
course.
so maybe it makes sense for us to have one account that's just for our
Brands.
brand direct, and then another account that's for all of our flipping and redistribution stuff.
Cool.
And then obviously, we have the Walmart, we got the eBay, we got the TikTok Shop.
Yep.
And then if we can scale all those things up, then it's like, all right, we're playing in really 5 different sandboxes, and then we're really well
That's the
yeah.
goal.
diversified.
That is the goal. Get your hands in as many sandboxes as possible.
Pause. No
Yep.
Diddy.
No Diddy.
That's funny.
He had to go there.
Lighten it up a little bit.
I was not ready for that.
So what like major changes besides, like, obviously you're getting a warehouse? Are you changing your VA team at all that you have as you continue to expand? Are you adding any, or are you
So
conserving
we've been dabbling with new systems with our VAs as of the past month or so, just because there's always stuff that comes up that we think our time is more important to delegate to. So we're
Yeah.
finding new things to put the VAs on, which I think is going to be a never-ending cycle, honestly. Even
Yes.
no matter how many
100%.
VAs you have, one day they might be sourcing, the next day they might be whatever the case may be. There's so many options for them. As of right now, I don't think we need more, but we're going to eventually, obviously. And we want to get to the point where we could go out to the Philippines and hang out with them and meet them and
Yeah.
do meetings with them and become on a first name basis and friendly with them and help them grow in their life, not just as an employee for a company,
Yeah.
which
like
is
that
our goal.
Culture for us is a very important thing. And as leaders and business owners, like, we're trying to grow in that sense as well. Like, it's not just money, it's not just tasks and their task managers, and like that I think is a bad rhetoric for long-term success. But like, I did recently get inspired by you guys, where you guys hired, or you upped one of your VAs to an ops manager, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought that was a
Yes. Yeah, I was about
brilliant
to mention
move,
that.
because one of our guys is super, super knowledgeable at this point. He was our first hire, has been with us for over a year and a half now. And, the knowledge is just compounding, and the skill level is really getting to a point where he can oversee a lot more of this business than we are letting him. And now it's time, like, we brought him in. And, bro, this is super dope. I just want to say out loud, like, he's able to afford a home now. He's moving out of his mom's house, young kid, just grinding off of stuff that we're doing and developing here. Like, that
Which
to me is
an awesome feeling.
sick, bro. Like, that is sick. And he's forever, grateful for what we bring to the table. And these people are, like, super, super loyal, down to earth, just want to help, like I have nothing negative to say about VAs. Obviously, there's people that'll just work for everybody at the same
That's
time, share leads.
anywhere.
Like that's part of the game too. But majority of the guys that and girls that we've hired have been just stellar, you know. And I recommend everybody to go to the Philippines for VAs.
Yeah,
Could not
Cajua,
agree more.
What did one of our VAs just buy that might be nicer than yours right now?
Yeah. I was gonna go to that too. I'm glad you mentioned that. So our ops manager. So, in kind of giving a little bit more context for people who are listening, might be thinking about hiring their first VA. So, we hired, and our first couple hires were product sourcers. Our third hire was an admin assistant, and so this guy who we hired, it was his first job as a virtual assistant. His previous job, he was, I believe the title was administrative assistant or admin for his local, I think it was the local police office, some job in government. So he already had the background and the skill set, you know, to manage different tasks, manage some workflows, that kind of stuff. I was like, perfect fit. I think I had an interview. He applied to the job. I interviewed him later that day. He's like, well, I won't be able to get on a computer until tomorrow. I'm like, you have your phone? He's like, sure. I was like, yeah, he did an interview like in his car. He just like pulled over to the parking lot. I was like, bro, you're hired.
Getting it done.
We're starting the
See?
trial tomorrow. Speed. I was like,
That's
this is the guy. So he's been with us for just over a year now. Earlier this year, I promoted him to operations manager, which it's a lot of the same tasks, but now instead of just, you know, okay, I give you an assignment, do this, I give you an assignment, do that. It's like, all right, you can now take initiative in these areas. He's in the Slack channel with both of our prep centers. So if there's something that needs to be communicated with the prep center, he's normally the one initiating that. He fills out their spreadsheets. He tells them what we're doing. He monitors account. There's tons of stuff that he's doing. That is
A lot of responsibility on him now.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And a lot of trust.
Of course.
And a lot of trust. And he's a killer with making SOPs. Like the amount of
Awesome.
SOPs he's made is just crazy. Right?
That's
Anyway,
cool.
so that's the background.
I should ask my
But-
VA about the SOP thing because that could be cool for him to
Yes.
do. I always try to make them. I've utilized I forget what it's called. I think it's the 20% rule. Are you guys familiar with the way that Gmail was created and Google, how they use? So Google
You
uses
mean like the 80-20 rule?
I don't know like what they call it. I believe it's the 20% rule, but Google uses this theory that if you let your employees work 20% of their time on innovation and making things better or creating new stuff in the company, that it'll allow them to be more invested and also, you know, obviously see things that you can't see. And that's how Gmail was created. Somebody who was on an employee just spent 20% of his time developing this thing, and now we have Gmail that we all use. So I thought that was a brilliant thing, and I wanted to implement it in our business. So we do try to have our employees work 20% of their time each week on something cool to implement, which is we started recently yet, but
Yeah, they come back with
Interesting.
ideas or whatever systems they need.
yeah, that's why when you
which
said
is-
the SOP thing, that made me think of that. Like you have your guy innovating and developing things for your company.
Well, yeah, so I guess it's not as much on the innovation side. For us, it's more about all of the things that are happening on a consistent basis, making sure that there's
He's
a
just writing
documented
them out.
process for
Gotcha.
it.
Okay.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yes, exactly.
I thought you were saying
so-
he was like, this is the best way to do this and writing the SOP. Because
Well, so
that's crazy.
It can be both.
Yeah,
it can be
yeah.
both. So when we first started, it was, hey, this is everything that I do.
Right.
Make a written process for it, and then you do it. And now it's, hey, there's this task. I haven't done it before. You haven't done it before. I think you can just kind of figure it out and then write a
Right.
SOP for it. So now
Cool.
it's
Yeah, that's
that
a good
too.
way to implement too. I like that. We may use that too in
Yeah.
our business.
Yeah. So going back to the story that Josh brought up. So with the promotion from admin assistant to ops manager, also obviously came a pay raise because of more
course.
responsibility and everything. And last month he bought a car, and I forget what the exact model was, but so I have a Hyundai, and I know it was a Hyundai. And he sent me a picture of it. I was like, bro, that car is better than my car. Because
The
my
employees
car,
are
I've had it
winning,
for a
man.
couple years. I buy my cars cash. So it's an old car. It's beat up. someone hit me a couple months ago. My passenger side door is dented. It's a piece of crap car, but that's how I like it. It's paid off, A to B car.
Yeah, I mean,
You know what I
do
mean?
you gotta
But now
do.
it's like my employees overseas have better whips than I do.
That's got to be a good feeling, though.
It's
is.
cool, bro. Changing people's lives in a big way. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. What are your guys' revenue goals for the year this year? Do you have any?
As far as like number in our head, no, I'm shooting more for a monthly revenue goal. Like I really want to
Gotcha.
push to that 300 to 400K a month. I'm not so concerned about like what the end of the year ends up being. Obviously, it's going to be up from last year, but the main goal that I'm aiming at is that 300 to 400K in that range.
Consistently.
Yeah, like
seems to be
right.
the problem. We're at a plateau. There's always
Yeah.
something that will bring us.
I
I'm
love-
sure you guys know that, obviously, but
Yeah.
that is really stability is what we're trying to get to.
I love that
3 to
quote.
400 is the number, but stable.
Stability.
I love that.
You
Continuously.
said consistently is what
Consistently,
seems to
that's
be
it.
the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's,
You're, bro. I know that 100%.
There's
Yeah.
lead times or listings go down. You know how it goes. There's,
every 6 months so far, like we've only been in this a span of 6 months. So every
Right.
6 months have been massive and drastic changes to our business, whether it's from one business model to another, then it's from where we're prepping stuff and not having a place to go,
We
then
moved.
to, yeah, we
Just-
moved. Like there was a lot of moving pieces these past 2 years on top of like the most recent one was losing a ton of our supplier base because our bottleneck was through a seller relationship, which I, as a strategic chess player, knew this. I knew it. I called it out super early, but things were just working, and I thought, maybe I'm just being paranoid. But, like, I'm of the same thought that you're only paranoid until you're prepared, Like, so I ended up, just sipping the Kool-Aid, I guess, too much. And then there was a moment in my life, in real life, where I was faced with do I compromise my principles and morals for money, or do I stay to my word and integrity and F the money and rebuild from the ground up? And we
me and him
chose the latter.
we're on the same page.
Yeah,
and
it's like,
no
nah,
question about it. There was things that had to be done.
Yeah,
We don't
it
move
is-
like
it
that.
is
We
what
don't
it
work
is.
like that, and it is what it is.
And we don't want to be around that energy.
Of course, it
Yeah.
gave us a little setback, but it put a fire under us. So, which is good. We needed it.
Yeah, hell yeah.
100%. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Integrity is all you got. at the end of
We've
the
been
day.
Hell yeah, bro. And it's not an easy decision. And
Of
like
course
I
it's not.
I can relate a lot of this to like the 9 to 5 people where, at the end of the day, this is how they pay their bills, and it's not so easy to get out from under. And a lot of people are not willing to cut off their life source or life support for the sake of their morals and integrity. It's not worth that
course.
much to a lot of people, especially if you got kids, if you got a wife, all of these type of things, if you got a mortgage, like big things like that. I'm lucky. Jared's lucky. We're still in our 20s. We're still very aggressive. We're still very, very risky. And because in my head, like, we're young enough to make it all back in our lifetime. And
course.
also, like, we don't come from that much to where we're used to having this level of lifestyle anyway. So to me, it's like, let's just hammer it. And I respect people that don't make that decision. But
That
I know for us, like, this was the best route for me as an individual, Jared as an individual, and if it bites us in the butt,
of
it
course.
is what it is, But
Anyone out
luckily,
there watching,
that doesn't really
spoke
happen.
volumes to us on supplier relationships, though, because if you put all your relationship supplier in one seller that you're doing business with, and something like this happens, you have no leverage.
Yeah,
And we have
absolutely.
to escape that, create our own new relationships and own suppliers, which obviously is a good thing, but you can't put too much faith and trust
Into
in
anybody,
another person.
anything,
Period.
period.
especially when your business is on the line. So we learned
Yeah.
it was a nice learning curve, but
Yeah.
we're bouncing back slowly but surely, and that's
What,
the goal.
what I will say to add on to that thought is there's probably hidden gems in the current suppliers you're working with that you just haven't found yet, and you
I
should
agree.
double down on the people you're working with before or side by side while you're doing outreach, because like we hammered the phones in April, hammered them, and we only probably had 2 good arguably great accounts in the start of April that I knew we could spend money with. But by time April ended, we probably spent close to 200,000 in product. So you could get a lot of spend off if you're aggressive enough and just hammer this stuff, you know? And that's not a flex. I'm just saying the
Of course.
volume of business that you can drum up in 30 days, it's possible. You just have to apply yourself. This isn't a call suppliers for 6 months and see where you're at. No, hammer the phone and get these accounts open.
I saw Corey Ganna mention that on one of his recent posts. He mentioned that if you sit in a room and just lock yourself and call suppliers for a few hours a day, you will get
your life will
something out of
change.
it.
It's going to work.
Yep.
It's
You
going
will
to
get
work.
something
It
out
will
of it.
work.
You don't have to be the
100%.
best at sales. You don't have to be the best on the phone. You just have to apply yourself and be consistent. Somebody
couldn't
will
agree
want
more.
to work with you.
Yeah, and if you got to be real too, like
Of
you know,
course.
like people know when you're just trying to make money online, and suppliers can hear it, you know, from the first time you say hello. They already know who you are. So if you want to be real and you want to be yourself and you want to actually try to help out a distributor or a supplier, like that goes a long way
Well,
too. And
that
trying
also
to,
comes
like,
with professionalism.
improve profitability.
Are you
Yeah.
emailing from a professional email with a nice thread? Is there, that stuff matters over time.
Yeah. Are you opening your
100%.
emails
Yeah, better-
nice with
Better not be
intros?
using your at AOL.
Yeah. You know what else is good too? Ask your supplier what they're sitting on for a while that they can't move. And chances
Yeah.
are
Yes.
you may be able to buy some of it. You may not make a ton of money on it. You may lose some money on it, but it may allow you to get discounted pricing for doing the right thing and being consistent with these people. They want you to spend money with them. That's really the name of the game.
100%.
Yeah, so let's dive a little deeper into this supplier outreach conversation. So you pick up the phone, you call someone, you call a distributor, a wholesaler that you researched on Google, I'm assuming.
Yep.
What does the conversation go? How does the conversation go?
It's different for every single supplier. It's case by case. 90% of the time, I'm not mentioning Amazon if they don't mention it.
Yeah, yes.
There's also the black hat tactic of never mentioning it. I don't recommend it, but if there's a lot of suppliers out there that won't ask questions purposefully. You know, their bosses, the sales reps' bosses may tell them you're not allowed to sell to Amazon sellers, but these people need to put food on the table too. So if you don't tell them that you're selling on Amazon and they don't know, they're not wrong for selling to you. So
Of course.
just keep all of this in mind as you're having the conversation. Certain people will say that they allow Amazon sellers, and then you get the catalogs and they're garbage, which is something else I've realized too. The easiest accounts to open are usually the garbage ones. But I had this conversation with you guys last time we were on. We opened a huge brand direct account last year, and it was by accident because I applied with a different email. That's not a joke. A big account that every single person listening to this probably knows and uses. And we were able to get it just by the chance of me reaching out from a different email. And they were like, oh, hey, yeah, we'll open your account. We just don't have any business information on file. And that was it. And I was like, oh, let me just keep shooting, you know? Which doesn't happen
So
often.
you don't pick up the phone and say, "Hey, this is Pete, the Amazon seller." Let me
Yeah, definitely not.
That's
Definitely
how
not.
you get a voice message real quick.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll send you to the secretary. And then that's it, the gatekeeper.
Beep.
Now,
And so, are you guys reaching out mainly to what is your main method for finding new wholesalers and distributors? Are you doing Google? Do you have brands that you're targeting first?
We were
what's your
doing
strategy?
niche. We were switching it up. Our VA was posting certain niched leads for us that were wholesalers, obviously, and we would look through them. And what I was going to say earlier is if it's got an email, an application, and a phone number, you email, you apply, and you call. That is
Yeah.
just the way to do it. Hit them on
And-
every aspect.
We use
Which
Jungle
has worked.
Scout. Yeah, we use Jungle Scout for brand research. We use Google for supplier research. I will say it's kind of a combination of both. I don't have a specific way of doing it because, every day is different and the luck of the draw is the luck of the draw. So there's been many times where I've found by filtering out on Jungle Scout good brands and then finding their suppliers and opening the accounts and being able to get product that way. And then there's the other way of just sitting on Google and going through the list of suppliers that you're finding in your local area in the main markets of the US, New York, Chicago, California, where the ports are, Miami. All of these bigger places will do business with you if you're good enough to get the account open.
Of course.
It's not limited to your local radius.
And
If
people
you're
seem to forget using leverage of friends. If you have friends or family or anyone you know who's in a
In real
distribution
life.
business in real life that is not even to do with Amazon, you could take advantage of that, which we are starting to do now. I've been telling him for months, there's no way we don't know anyone who owns a distribution company. There's no way we don't know
it's just
someone.
no way.
It's through the grapevine. But
Especially being from New York.
of course.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
100%.
There's just 1,000 different ways to skin the cat. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I was kind of intrigued when you say you reached out with a different email. Were you reaching out with your business email?
Nope.
And so, gotcha. So you just created another email and just sent the same thing?
I reached out with my personal email, which again, is not, we just had this conversation. Don't do that, because why would you want to make yourself, but the
Sure.
pro email didn't work. And I know people are getting accounts open. I'm shooting. I don't care. I'll try to fix it after. I'm just going to ask, what's the quote? Don't ask for permission, ask for forgiveness.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
just
it.
shoot,
Gotcha.
So
Take action.
I used my personal email, and I got to look up the email. I'll see if I can find it after this conversation. And it was basically like, hey, yeah, we have no information on your business. Tell me a bit about it. What do you do? We'll get your account set up. And that was it. Crazy.
Gotcha.
That's awesome. I love that. Just
Yeah.
gotta shoot a shot.
Yeah, you just got to shoot, bro. It's a volume game.
And
It
so
is a volume game.
now, how many suppliers are you actively working with now?
Probably
Since you're mad
3 to
out.
4 consistently. But again, I had a conversation with Jonah about this, Jared, and we had a long call, and there comes a point where you only have so much money to spend.
Right.
So then, the dormancy of opening accounts starts to happen. And then it's like batches. You wait for the money to come back, and then you're doing aggressive outreach again to try to diversify that capital more, get another PO in. And it's just the time in the game is what I'm learning, right? There is no right way to do it.
Of course.
But there are wrong ways.
Absolutely.
Yes.
The only way to learn the right ways is doing them wrong, though.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
facts.
I mean, you guys said this a while back too, but I mean, we've been selling for 7 years now, been taking it seriously for, I would say, 2 to 3.
Mhm.
But I mean, we've also had major pivots, every year it feels like.
Yeah.
They're
So-
inevitable.
And I feel like now we're kind of at a point where
Yep.
I don't foresee a major pivot for at least a couple years. We can really double down on what we're doing now.
Which should
But
speak
at-
volumes to everyone listening that about
Yeah.
2.5 years in, you should be at the same point.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's you not only are there the pivots, but there are also the problems.
Of course.
And there's always oh my gosh, there's this problem now. Oh my goodness, there's this problem now. But you
And
have
some of
to
them
have,
are unavoidable.
Yeah.
some of them are unavoidable, but you have to have that resilience to just keep pushing. And like you said, okay, we had this really strong relationship. It's no longer viable. Are we going to quit, or are we going to double down,
Exactly.
pick up the
Nah.
phone,
They
get
don't-
on Google?
They don't
get
call
in
me
the
P
trenches
double
and
for
hit-
nothing, buddy.
It'll crush the pride for a little bit, but you got to get
Yeah.
back on the horse.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Now, if you were guys, I want to kind of pivot a little bit for maybe some new listeners, or we could just clip this up. If you guys were to start all over again and were thinking about doing business on Amazon, how would you start and how would you go about the process again?
If I had no information on this and I learned
Yes.
overnight, I would probably start the way we did for a few weeks and then just go straight into wholesale. That would be obviously if you have capital, which is the problem for most people. You have to work
Right.
your little amount of capital up to maybe get into wholesale. But if we're talking that I have capital enough to get into wholesale, that would be the first route for us, at least me right now.
Yeah, no,
Because-
I agree. Let me jump in here. I think for anybody listening that's starting out, if you're going to be a side hustler and you're not going to take this to the full capacity, but you have a lot of time, you're young, and your capital is kind of limited, I'd just probably stick with OA. But if this is something you're trying to do full time and you want the best route to get to full time, it's OA, wholesale, and then if you want to dabble in private label, dabble in that. But I say that not because OA is a viable model. It's going to limit you from spending a ton of money purposefully so that you don't burn your own capital, because it's way harder to spend a lot of money in OA.
On
But the
one
most
product specifically.
the most important piece of this is getting the feedback loop of you learning what to do, learning the process, learning how to read Keepa. If I told somebody to start wholesale tomorrow, there's a high likelihood that they buy a PO, wait 3 months to find out that they lost their money. Like, that's a reality. In OA, if they spend, whatever it is, the monetary value is irrelevant here. But if they spend the money, chances are they're going to realize that they made a bad buy within 3 weeks. And that is super important in this game. Like we said, speed's important, but the feedback loop of wholesale is so much slower and it's way more capital intensive, where, you can literally buy 10 products, FBM them, and have the money back in 2 weeks, 3 weeks time. And then you realize, okay, I understand the game. I understand the repricing aspect of it. Did I lose money? Why was this a bad buy? Et cetera, et cetera. And you can repeat that until you're comfortable to use your capital wisely into a wholesale buy. That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
I like
Yep,
that.
that's good.
I like that approach. It's hard to figure out if you actually like a business model before you do it.
That too.
And-
That
yeah.
too. I
Because
hate
we
OA with a
Did not
passion.
enjoy OA.
I
There it is. He's been holding that back.
Yeah.
That didn't
We
even
were
come out at the
loopholing.
first interview.
hate it. Yeah. I went to dinner the other night with Miles and Sawyer was joking around about Memorial Day sales and how he spent $100K in 72 hours, and I'm like, yo, kudos to you. I would not spend that money if they gave it to me for free. I just wouldn't do that. It doesn't
No.
move the needle for me.
I
sitting in
didn't
front of the
look at a
computer.
single Memorial Day sale.
Yeah, me
It crossed
either.
my
But
But I knew
it
there
did
was
cross
money.
my
I knew-
mind, but it's not. I'm not playing the gift card game. I'm not playing the order cancel game. I'm not playing the retailer
jig-
messing up units on the back
Taking the
end
address.
game. But I feel like, honestly, from a business owner standpoint, and I have a lot of OA friends, I don't mean to piss any of you guys off, but the reality is a lot of them don't understand what a P&L is, like real stuff, real talk. And some of
I
them
think-
do. Kudos to you, but let's be honest.
To be
it's
honest,
hard
I
to
think-
track this, bro.
I
Yes.
think OA
100%.
is one of the most scalable side hustles that exists.
Hell yeah.
Because it's
Hell
really
yeah. Hell yeah.
set up. It's set up perfectly as a side hustle.
Hell yeah.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
it's great. I mean, we got OA to $500,000 in revenue in 22 or
Yeah.
23, whatever year it was.
We
And-
did about $1 million.
And we
in
built
OA.
systems around it. And there's this
Yeah.
one guy on Twitter I started following, and I think he does $25 million a year OA.
The
I'm
guy
like-
Jeff? I don't
Yes,
know him,
yeah,
but
that's
yeah, I saw the.
I saw.
Yeah, I saw
He
it.
seems legit. I want to get him on the
People-
pod
well,
too, Jeff. If you're listening, come on the pod.
Get on, Jeff.
But it's like
definitely
I'm like,
respect
how
him.
do you?
That-
Yeah, and
what a
like tons
nightmare.
of respect. But I'm like, at that point, like just
How
instead
many
of placing
VAs does he have
3,
people, I don't understand.
it's
Yeah.
got to be a ton. But I'm like,
That's
God,
you could
that's
get
on fast track. Bro.
you could have the same
Crazy.
revenue, the same profit, and just have half as many VAs and a tenth as many orders.
Right.
Like I don't understand like why you wouldn't want to. But that's
crazy.
well, I'll
know.
ask Jeff
They
that
wanna
question
do
when
it.
he comes on the pod.
To each their own. I'm not hating on it. I just hate
Right.
it. Like I respect
Exactly.
everybody making
Yeah.
money.
Look,
it's
there-
just not for
we
me
still
anymore.
we still buy
we
some
do.
OA products, but we don't
Yeah,
source
we do.
new stuff. We just have a list
do
of
buy that.
products that we
Smart,
know
though.
hit.
If it's
and it's
profitable
like when they're in
stuff,
stock,
yeah.
Yeah.
My VA
We'll
pings
buy.
me on Slack and says, "Hey, Kaj, this stuff is back in stock."
Right.
I say bet, and I just spend easy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
It's just like,
I-
bro, you do one gift card order, you get an order cancel. Like, good luck sitting on the phone for an hour with
of
customer
course.
service.
it's terrible.
Like, I'm
It's
not
terrible.
doing that anymore. No.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
So you
It's
guys
not-
have your VAs go through your old OA leads, basically? Is that a monthly thing, or how do you guys approach that?
Yeah, so right now, not as aggressively as we were when we were like really focused on OA, but yes, when we were doing OA like much more dialed in, we would have different tabs for every single store,
Right.
and on a weekly basis, our
Just comb through.
sourcing VA would they would just go through and just essentially source our own catalog, and
Of course, 'cause
50%
there's
of our
money sitting
spend,
there, of course.
yeah, 50% of our spend would just come from that, and so now we kind of have like our top ASINs. I have a tab, I just call it daily and weekly checks, and every day she just goes in, and it's like maybe 15 to 20 different ASINs.
That's smart, though.
and just
For
goes,
people
just
who are
goes
doing
through,
wholesale,
checks them.
there's no reason not to do that on top of wholesale.
Exactly.
Yeah, especially if you have the extra cash. If you want to, save your cash and spend it on like a new supplier or a different PO or a larger PO to get a better discount, I totally get that. But if you got some extra cash lying around that you want to flip real quick, you can.
That's free money on top.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to spend than not spend.
Of course, that's the name of the game.
Yeah,
exactly.
100%.
What are you guys doing? Oh, go ahead. I'll answer yours and then you answer mine.
Okay, all right, cool. So I was just gonna ask, are there any other outreach methods that you use that might not be just the Google, the People Product Finder, whatever, to find like a different kind of distributor or brand that might not be what every single other Amazon seller is reaching out to?
Sometimes I'll sit on Google, and if I just want to start selling lawn care stuff, I will look up lawn care.
Yeah, like just sitting down the rabbit hole of Amazon for sure.
Just
the rabbit
go
hole.
through products, see if they're selling, and if they're good, I'll go look for a supplier that's selling that product.
Yeah,
strategic rabbit hole.
Stuck to method, of course. Switch it up.
I don't.
Do you guys use Smart Scout at all?
Yeah,
Yes.
we use Smart Scout. Oh no, I said Jungle Scout. I think earlier.
Yeah,
I meant
you did.
Smart
You did.
Scout.
You
Yeah.
did.
I meant
Okay, that
Smart
makes a
Scout.
lot more
Sorry,
sense.
guys.
What?
I was like,
knew what you
wow.
meant to when you said
Jungle Scout. I was like,
Sorry,
we used
guys.
last time we used Jungle Scout was like 2019.
I never
Yeah.
used
The
Jungle
private
Scout.
label
yeah.
Sorry.
Use Smart Scout.
When we
Yeah,
clicked
so are
that,
you
just
using,
put the
like-
Smart Scout?
Are you using like the subcategory feature, the brands tab, or just like what's your favorite method on Smart
We
Scout?
probably do. So there's a couple of different things. I'll do it by. Sometimes I feel like the results on Smart Scout are spotty, and I don't know if it's an algorithm thing or because I know the filters that I'm putting in.
Right.
Right.
And there should definitely be results that pop up, but a lot of the times we're chasing not so much revenue based, but I'm more on like how in stock Amazon is, how many sellers are active on the listings. I generally would go to Smart Scout after identifying a niche that we want to target. A lot of it though, like if you sit on Amazon, you could find tons and tons of brands if you just sit there and have the mental fortitude to go through that, and not let the software do the work for you, for real though. Because like I found a brand that I've never heard of in a niche that I'm not familiar with, that each product I found, they follow map, but there's 10, 15 sellers, and you could see people are undercutting just to get their sales off. And they're doing, each ASIN is doing like 5K units a month estimated. So like this brand
And that's
crushes.
Probably 87% of Amazon sellers don't even know about.
Don't even know exists.
Including us, until we found it, which is the way to do things, though.
And
Yeah,
then
100%.
then it starts the strategic, how to outreach, which ways to go about it. Can we do this distributor? Do we need brand direct? And that's its own conversation. But
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I specifically like using Smart Scout for the brand tab. As
Yeah,
our big focus is finding new brands and stuff to get those like exclusive direct relationships. So, but then when you're using the brand tab, right, you do need to know a niche that you're going into.
Of
Yeah.
course.
The rabbit hole is going to be more so within that niche versus finding that specific subcategory that people might not already know about.
yeah.
100%.
I had a question.
What was your question?
I had a question for you guys as far as restocking goes. What does that look like at your level of wholesale now? And we could dive into ours because we're still figuring out the best practice there, but it kind of is very clunky for us.
It is here too.
Yeah, it's because I don't think there is
honestly,
a right way to do it.
I was going to say that.
When our OA restocking was dialed in when we were mostly OA, and then with wholesale, like it's mainly comes down to just monitoring our orders and what's going through. But in terms of the actual system, it mostly comes down to me. And we have a rough SOP for it, but a lot of stuff, and I don't know if you guys have had the same experience, but we work with a lot of different distributors in the last year plus, and a lot of the products, it's like, okay, I would restock this, but now they're out of stock.
Right.
Or it was good, and then the
It's
price,
not good.
it didn't tank like it does in OA, where you see the roller
Of course,
coaster.
Yeah.
But it came down to the point where now it's
It
not
just
hitting our
doesn't make
margins
sense anymore, right?
it just doesn't make sense anymore. And so now, as we have two brand direct exclusives that we're really working on ramping up. And I think our restocking SOP will be a lot more smooth once those are kind of where they are. Because in those, it's like, okay, the sales are consistent. We're the only person on the listing. We know how much we need to buy. That's going to be easier versus some other stuff where it's just the product landscape is much more dynamic, or it might not always be replenable. And maybe it's like, it's cyclical or whatever.
Yeah, it is. Definitely for us is that more. And then
funky.
There's the layer of complexity of like a lot of our distributors will have promo pricing on certain products. And depending on how fast or how much we've spent already within the month, it may be smart to overstock some product just because we're getting it at such a cheaper price. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And then, anticipating everybody else going out of stock, us getting access to it first because of the relationships, whatever the case is, like we had this happen recently. There was a shortage on one of our ASINs, but we bought a lot of them. And guess what happened? We were selling them and still are selling them for the moon because nobody else bought them. It doesn't happen all the time. And, you get your legs broken on some of these ASINs. It's just the nature of the beast. But at the same time, you make some strategic calls and it could play out for the better.
Yep. And one thing we are doing, or we kind of stopped doing this in the last month, but I'm probably going to bring it back, is one of our VAs every Monday, I would have her go through every single ASIN that we sold the previous week and then just kind of give me like an overview of the landscape, like how many we sold, is it profitable, should we try and reblend this? And then that was kind of like, I would say, the simplest system that anyone could use, especially if you have a VA. And especially when you're doing OA, because there's so many different ASINs and you might only be selling 5 or 10 a month. But with wholesale, that's going to be even more powerful.
Yeah, that's smart. I just I'm heavy on this in my brain right now because of the inventory fees, the low inventory stuff. So I'm trying our best to just mitigate those fees. And obviously the more dialed in, the more what gets measured gets managed. That saying is real. So I'm trying to actively measure that now and then figure out the system that best fits our specific situation.
Yeah. I feel like some of the life cycle of a product in wholesale is still very much interesting compared to one of OA, where, you get the sale pop off, you get the hard dip, and then you'll stabilize in a month or two. And then honestly, if you didn't sell, if you just waited a month or two, you're selling at such good prices, you wish you never even sent them in. And it's almost the same for these wholesales, because we've seen it. We've bought product, and then everybody gets there at the same time.
Of course.
And then price starts to fall, and then actually everybody just almost runs out to the point where, oh shoot, you can't even get it from your supplier anymore. And if you had waited honestly
and now the price is skyrocketed. 2
months to wait, the price is actually now you're selling for a moon bag.
But
so it's almost, it's crazy.
How do you tell that though? It's hard to.
No, you can't. You can't tell that.
That's the problem.
The thing that scares me about doing that, and we are actively doing it on an ASIN right now, but there's the complexity of, is it better to let the cash sit in product or to liquidate, get the cash back, and spend it better next time around? There's a conversation there. And then you can't tell if Amazon is going to hit you with a COA, for example, on a product. And now, if you would have just liquidated it and not tried to be a hero and made the money, you would have been out of it and there's no headache. But you can't, these are the type of things that you can't plan for. So it's how much risk you want to take on
every
case-by-case
and
basis.
This is why I'm telling people to go brand direct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yo, that really almost happened to
sense.
us in October. That was a big doozy for us. We got hit with a COA on a product that we spent $25,000 on, and we would have sold through within a month. Thankfully, they gave us a 30-day window after our stuff was already selling, so we sold through it. But my man, boy, was my hair turning gray.
Scary.
In the
blink of an eye. One day you're good, the next day you wake up with something
if you get your stuff stuck in FC transfer, what do? And then it's just the date comes, it's over. So it's risky game, guys. It's very risky.
Yes. Absolutely.
Brand direct.
Got to spread out that spend.
I know
as
I
best you
have to
can.
dial more into the
Lock
brand
into
direct
that, yeah.
stuff for sure.
And it's
We just-
a long game too, because especially
Yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
get the exclusive.
Dude.
Like even with this one brand that we're working with now, like it's taken 2 to 3 months from when they agreed, you know, to let us kind of become the exclusive partner to us getting the listing to the point where we want to. So
Yeah.
it takes time versus with the
I
distributor.
think we're still waiting for someone to fall off, right, Kaj?
Yes. Yep.
So how do you guys approach brand directs? Do you see the product on Amazon first and see a bunch of sellers on it or no sellers on it? What's your go-to signal that you would want that brand?
So I haven't done a high enough amount of volume to say I have my go-to, but so for the 2 exclusive that we have now, they both came differently. One was a product that we sold OA for a while, I think, and then I just followed up with them consistently over a few months, and kind of realized like
What were some of the reasons what were some of the reasons you were following up on? Just so everybody knows.
Well, so following up to get the exclusive, and honestly, that was really the main pain point. So I kind of pitched them, hey, let's get exclusive, let's get you in transparency, and we can help you get your price on Amazon up to a point where you actually want it to be.
Right.
And so kind of it took, I would say, like 3 to 4 months of trying to explain to them why working with just us versus wholesaling to literally whoever just came to
Right.
them.
What value you're bringing to them.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
So it was tightening up the supply chain and then also saying, hey, like your listings aren't good. You only got 1 or 2 pictures. We can get you more pictures. We can optimize for SEO. We can run ads. And then we can place an order that looks like this if we're able, you know, to get exclusivity with you.
Absolutely. Well, boys, it has been great talking to you. Where can people go find you on the internet?
My handle is right there at It's P Double. If you guys don't know, I do music also full time, as well as Amazon. That's the point, to fund my
You see
music
the logo in the
career.
back?
So shout out the brand Kings Road, and yeah, conquer yourself, everybody.
That's it. Get to it.
Pete and Jared, thank you guys so much for coming out tonight.
Absolutely.
If you guys like this content, please follow and like the podcast, and we will see you guys on the next one.